pretty good view first thing in the morning. It's so good to have the truck outside. We can sit and it's just such good looking truck. Like even me, like I keep looking at it. Love it. Really happy with how it's looking so far. But there's always that one thing that bugs me. Can you spot it as well? The green jerry can. It's still here. Chris really is not bothered by it, but me, I just don't like it. I feel like it clashes with everything else, and I just don't like the green color in general. I really want to try a sandy color like desert tan, beige jerry can. It's impossible to find one in Europe. There are lots in America. I guess they're like ex-military jerry can. I can't order them to go to Sweden. So if anyone has a solution for me to get one here, please let me know, because otherwise I'm gonna have to paint it. But Chris told me that it's gonna be a real pain to sand it, and paint it is just not gonna come up right, which is gonna be, I guess, my last resort, because I can't let it green. What do you think? What are we up to up there?
We're building a little box that goes over our diesel heater in the kind of living room area, and then I'll build another box on the other side that covers the batteries up. So I'm just placing these things wherever they'll go, and then the box will be carpeted, so it won't stand out too much.
Nice. It's very sunny now, but yeah, you would have seen the clip this morning. It was kind of like dark, and that was actually the first time that we tested the tent under the rain, so it was like a proper leak test. And how did we go?
Success. No leaks.
No leak.
Nothing out of the little hatch as well, and the skylight.
Oh, that's such good news, because if you would have watched the Unimog build, you would know that we had some decent issues with leaks.
Yeah.
So at least with Caddy, no leaks.
Yep, no chasing leaks for months on end, thank goodness.
Tomorrow it's an exciting day. We're gonna pick up a lot of plywood for the interior fit out, so stay tuned, because that's gonna change the look of the camper very soon. And here we go, we have picked up the wood. Chris got the 18mm sheet outside, ready for the first cut.
It's so bright. It's so nice. This is French poplar, 18mm. So this is going to be our new bed platform, because what we didn't show you is Ange and I sat in the Mark II bed platform and it almost snapped on me. So yeah, definitely not using 10mm. So we have upgraded. Wasn't cheap, but it should be really good. We're going to build the rest of our cabinetry out of poplar as well, mostly 12mm. But this is beautiful. It's such a shame that you won't even really see this once we're finished with it. It's a real shame, but it is what it is. And I think it's going to be a good product.
And why poplar?
Why poplar? Because it's very light, really, really light. And it has a nice finished grade face to it. It can just be quite a bit more plain than, say, pine, because you don't get much wood grain through poplar. But yeah, very light, dimensionally really stable. Its only downside that I know of is it's quite soft, so it can dent and scratch quite easily, but we'll just be a bit careful of it. I've created, just out of the ply that we got given, so pretty much the free 10mm pine ply, I've made a couple of kind of boxes, I guess, not quite a box, but roughly, taken a little bit of weight out the sides. I had to do a few random kind of jigsaw cuts in it just to make it sort of fit in the weird sort of shape that it needs to be. And now I am just carpeting. So here's the finished one so far, or semi-finished, on the diesel heater one. And then what I'm going to do is just get some black angle and put it on the edges there to gain a little bit of strength for the carpet and to sort of clean the edges up a little bit. So that's that one sort of complete, and they're not heavy at all, which is nice. That one will be for the batteries, so that one I'll carpet now. That'll be nice and easy. And then finally I've made this little box here. That'll be a little lift up lid. Oh, that way. And that is for the center console. So here I'll drill some sort of holes for a couple of cups or water bottles. And then in here will be like our camera storage, so that when we're driving along and Ange or I, depending on who's driving, jumps out to film, the camera gear, lenses, things like that will be really nice and easy to get to. In the MOG, we don't really have that sort of space, so Ange ends up having kind of everything at her feet. So that was kind of one of the provisos on the build, was to have something for our camera storage that's really easy to access. And then that'll be removable. It'll probably be on Velcro because it'll be on top of this engine hatch here, which needs to be accessible. So you'll pull the box off, put it somewhere else to access the engine, which obviously shouldn't be that often, so I don't see an issue there. That's more like oil changes and things like that.
If you've recently subscribed to the channel, a huge thank you. Since the last episode where Chris mentioned that sometimes YouTube remove your subscription, we actually got a lot of comments and as well some messages on Instagram saying that was the case. So it's definitely not a conspiracy theory. Still don't know why that happens, but yeah, thank you for checking and thank you for subscribing again. It means a lot. And if you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing so that we can reach our goal of 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Because after all these years on YouTube, that would be an amazing achievement.
Let me show you some of the finished projects I've done so far that I'm happy with. Okay, so here is the diesel heater box. Very happy with it. Fits really nicely. I think I might find a little plastic cover for this because it's ugly and orange. You've got obviously the port that can be spun around and directional. Here's the little LCD screen and it sits nice and snug. I put this black aluminium angle around the box and that's given it a nice smart sort of look. Looks like a bit of a subwoofer now. Here is the battery box. Similar, kind of matches in terms of the profile along the edge there. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. Looks nice. Nice and sturdy but not too heavy as well, and they don't move because I've got a bit of double-sided tape under there which is easy to remove when I need to. So I'm very happy with how they've turned out in the back here. So now I just kind of need to do this bamboo table here which will latch from here somewhere, and that'll give us our sort of eating space. And then this kind of area is pretty much complete, so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to finish those two boxes there. It's just so I could actually start to properly tick things off the list. Now the next one I wanted to finish off was this box here in the cab. So once you unlatch it, we have got a nice storage space for our camera equipment. So black hinges, carpet all around, and then this black aluminium trim around everywhere. I'll need to just clean that and stick her up a little bit. Use kind of like button head wafer screws to lock it all into place. They don't look too bad. And then with this trim, because it gets cut, because obviously it was black, but once you cut it, it becomes silver. I just used some black marker pen to finish up the edges, which has made it a nicer look. I always have terrible luck with hinges, so kind of flashbacks to the horror of me finishing off two of the hatches on Bowser, our Unimog back in Oz. Easy. Right. And that has given me PTSD in terms of hinges like this style. I can never seem to really get it right. I think I have my tolerances too tight. So when this sits, it kind of sits up a little bit, which I think is mostly because the carpet thickness is just a little bit too much for this area here. It's one of the reasons why it works really well once it's locked down. So it's not perfect, but I'm happy with it. It's easy to remove I've stapled Velcro underneath, so this can be pulled off and it's its own separate box, and then it's even easier to get to the engine hatch. I think carpeting the engine hatch as well has tied the whole thing in here, and then I've also kind of trimmed around here a bit nicer. So yeah, the cab is looking great. Next up will be a reverse camera, maybe up here, somewhere along there, and wiring up lights at some point to this, and then the cab is mostly complete. Actually, opinion, this is the glove box. I mean, you can't even really call it a glove box, it's more like just a space, so nothing really happens here. The only time I need to access it is with this knob, and that is to pull this out and get to the fuses. I'm thinking a piece of wood there. What do you guys reckon? Just to cover that there. I don't think it'll hinge because this plastic won't be able to handle a hinge. But how about just a piece of light plywood that looks nice on Velcro? Just Velcro it around the edges so it can be pulled off, and that's how you access the stuff behind. Don't know, what do you reckon? I just feel like that looks really messy, and maybe bringing a little bit of wood in here, maybe some of this poplar might tie both areas in nicely. Yeah.
If you're new to the channel, you wouldn't know that back in 2021, Chris and I built our first expedition truck together with absolutely no experience. It was a huge learning curve, but that gave us a little bit of boost of confidence to tackle this new build. Now, one of the biggest challenges with the Volvo is actually downsizing. Now, with downsizing come a lot of challenges. You have to be a lot more mindful of which materials you select. They have to be lightweight but strong. You have to be as well a bit more mindful of which appliances you buy. You have to be mindful of your weight distribution in your camper. So it's all those things that are actually a lot time consuming that you don't see in the build episodes, and we spend a lot of time on it just to make sure we've got all that right. Now, to give you an idea, in our Unimog, we've got 3 lithium batteries of 600 amp hours in total. We've got 400 liters of water, including 40 liters of hot water. We've got a 254 liter fridge, 400 liters of diesel, and a lot of storage. So obviously for this build, we had to downsize because it is a lot smaller. Starting with our first appliance, our Dometic fridge. So this is the Dometic NRX 115C. It's a 12-volt fridge, and it is 113 liters, which is a really good size for us for the camper. I think anything bigger would have been too much for the size of the Volvo. Anything smaller is just not enough for a family of 3. We prefer as well upright fridge compared to chest fridge. We used to have a Dometic chest fridge in the Jeep back when Trump was traveling, and it's just not as convenient because you have to go dig a little bit inside to get your food. So yeah, the upright fridge is definitely our preference since we've had the Mog.
In a nutshell, these are my base plates, sort of the base platforms. Now, just briefly, underneath here will be a long water tank, and then here will be a second water tank. So that has been what the hold up is in the construction and design of the rear here for the last couple of weeks. Ange and I did a ton of head scratching. We had a different layout in mind, and then we basically scrapped the whole thing, so that kind of put me back at square one, and then we came up with just a better solution. We're much happy with this. Before, we had 2 tanks. One tank was here and one tank was here, but that shrunk the space hugely, and it just was not going to be any good because the tank would have been on its side with an inspection port on the side that could have potentially leaked. There would have been no way to get to it. Just, yeah, a number of reasons why we scrapped that initial idea. So we've punched some numbers into our spreadsheet in terms of our weight distribution, and it's worked out much better for us to get excuse me, for us to get more weight on this passenger side. We are definitely still slightly biased to the driver's side, so we really wanted to get more weight this way. So we've done that now with this water tank, plus the fridge will be here too. And I think we're actually going to end up balancing this whole area out nicely. So I just want to show you these base plates. This is this poplar. It's very, very, very nice. In order to create a bit more structure down below where a lot of our weight is going to be, I've ended up gluing two 12s together, which I'm very happy with the glue. So, and that has just like bound them together so nicely. I'll show you an example later on of two that are glued together, just an offcut, and they are rock solid. So that makes them about 24 millimeters wide, so 2.4 centimeters wide, these parts here. The rest is all 12, apart from just a couple of things that I'm building out of 18 as well. So the plates themselves were a bit finicky to design because of all the jigsaw cuts. And then we also had this weird storage in here, so I basically put a box inside and then cut out a little groove so that we can access this. There'll be a lot of stuff, construction on top of this, but that gives us access to there. Still a lot to design, but at least now I've made a crack into doing the woodworking, which is great. And it's nice to work with this poplar. It's just, but these base plates are nice, nice solid. And then once we get the water tanks, I'll be able to fix those all together. I've got something else going on up here. So here is the finished bed platform. Very, very happy with the fit and finish of this. So super snug. The electrical system works with the lights, which I'll show you. This is all great, but because this is still the largest area and it's kind of a bit free floating, it still gave me a little bit of a like a dip when I would sit on it. So I've ended up, I'm just gluing and clamping this, as you can see here, and then I'm actually going to have a couple of pieces of this to give me just that extra bit of rigidity, and then I won't ever have to worry about the glue coming undone or anything like that. I'll show you the other, excuse me, two pieces as well when they're in. I'm really happy with how this is starting to come along now. So the thing I'm working on right now, which I'm going to show you, is this finicky little area here. So fridge, if you can imagine, would go up like so towards this way. Here will be some storage, same on this side, almost like a little footlocker, but we've got these crazy angles. So I'm trying to work with these angles now, which I have never mitered wood before. I don't have any way of even calculating an angle, so I'm just going to eyeball it and guess it. I did one little like test cut, and I think the angle I'm working with is 15 degrees. So I'm going to try and build a little box here. Then I can semi-replicate that there, and then I'm hoping those are actually the two more difficult parts of the woodworking kind of done and out of the way. I'm managing to get nice precise cuts with a very limited amount of tools that I've got and a pretty poor workbench, but I'm getting there. So I'm going to carry on with that, but I'm just not filming a ton of it because, in all honesty, I don't think it's interesting to watch on video. I think what would have been more interesting is like some nice close-ups with the Sony, but Angie's just always so busy with Oakley, so that's proving really, really difficult. So I apologize for not getting a lot of the shots of this. In fact, I've got almost nothing of the woodworking I've already done, but I'll try and get a bit more as I go and sort of talk through the processes, what my thoughts are about it. Hey! Hey, grown up boy, you look a bit sleepy.
Very sleepy.
I gave Oaks a little haircut, and it's now too short, and he doesn't look like a baby anymore. That is hair salon, it's pretty rough. It just chops willy-nilly. But you're not going to win any styling competitions. Alright, I'll take some measurements, work out what this next cut needs to be, which will also be on a 15-degree angle, but it will have to be opposite. My first time trying pocket screws. I'm nervous. Yeah, you can see it's poked through in a couple of places, and the issue is the pocket screws are really designed for 13mm minimum wood, and this is 12mm. So I tried dialing it in on the pocket screw adjustment. So you've got Not really much adjustment on this, but you've got a tiny bit of adjustment on the collar. So I've tried that, and then it changes depending on the length of the screw. But I think my hole is like a little bit too deep, so that means it's poked through a bit here, which for us is not the end of the world at all, because you won't see this side, but really good to practice on. You would see it from the top, and that's why I didn't want to do the brad nails, because I'm really enjoying using the brad nail gun. But you would see the head of the nails, and that looks kind of literally tacky. So I reckon this is the way to go, but I just need to dial it in a little bit better. And then that didn't even go in quite flush, so this workbench is not giving me the best surface to do stuff like this on, but it's kind of the best I've got at this stage. I've had way too much caffeine, I'm shaking. Look at that.
It's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
With all the jigsaw cuts that you have to make, like, and that gives us so much room for storage for potentially clothing.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Probably, yeah, one shelf, and then we've got, yeah, real decent storage.
And we've got to mirror that as well.
So now I just need to fix that there with brad nails, so we can do that now, Ange. And then I need a front piece. That'll be the hard one. Will be like an angled door that opens. Whew. That'll be easy. What am I talking about? Test fit. Has he done it? Has he done it? Yeah, that's not bad. I'm alright with that. I'm alright with that angle. Ooh. Oh, baby. Look at that. Close enough. Yeah, look at that. Happy Sunday morning, guys. Worked pretty hard on this all day yesterday. Actually, yeah, to be honest, it took me the entire day. So this is our kind of toilet compartment. So what you see here is just the carcasses. So there will be a front to all of them, which will come up to this lip here. So yeah, just the carcasses. Storage in here for maybe toiletries, things like that. This has access all the way down below into the weird little footwell kind of storage there was, so that multiple cutouts work pretty well for that. And then a toilet here, which we'll show you at some point. I'll need to put a little handle on it so it's easy to slide out, and then I might even put a fan going down the back somewhere. I'll decide on that. So you've got the box here. Now this had to be really strong. So the top is actually two 12s glued together to make a 24mm piece of ply, and then the walls are 18mm, the rest is 12, but still very light. And underneath I've actually chopped some holes out of that first layer to make it a little bit lighter. It's got pocket screws on the inside and a few nails, things like that. There's a little shelf there that's fixed. Really bizarre little 45-degree angle cut there, but it all came together really nicely. Just took so long coming back in here, taking little measurements, coming back in, because it all with a jigsaw has to fit into this weird shape in the back. But I'm very happy with how it turned out, apart from those. So when I was putting together the little shelving unit, I stupidly forgot that this side actually gets seen, and put two screws in after spending so long making all the other fasteners relatively invisible. So I was a bit gutted about that. So the front looks pretty stupid. So I will definitely put something here, which I might have done anyway, because getting these joins was quite tricky. So yeah, something will go there that'll cover that. So that'll be the fix there. You are looking at the electronics cabinet here. So we'll have inverter, batteries, system board, e-system board, storage, maybe charging for laptops, and then above more storage. Haven't decided what to do with that storage yet. And then far side is even more storage, that little nook there. Then there will also be storage under here as well, just this thin area. And then what I'm working on today, we got this thing, so I'll show you properly. Switching board needs to go here. That is an interesting spot because we've got angles here, we've got angles here, we've got angles bloody everywhere. So that's going to be a tricky one. So what I'm going to do is I'm just using some like some really basic custom wood. Kind of came with the bunda top, so when that came along it was packaged with a whole bunch of like thin custom wood as well. So I'll actually cut the angles out of that first to make sure that it fits before I use our nice plywood. But I'm already coming kind of to the short end of our supply, so we'll probably do another wood run today, because of course I've still got the whole kitchen area to make here. Fridge is mostly done, and then of course I've got the facades as well, so still a fair bit. So I might need you know, 3 or 4 more sheets of ply. I think the last set we got, I think 5 sheets of 12, 2 sheets of 18. I think it came to about €600, so not real cheap, but wood's really expensive no matter what type it is. Even the pine plywood was expensive too.
Chris had a very productive weekend. He will show you his progress a bit later. But yesterday we had a very nice end of the weekend. We had some visitors. If you don't follow Manfred and the Fam on Instagram, you definitely should. They've got an amazing truck, and they are one of the nicest family that we've met. So yeah, that was nice. They came here and we had a good chat. Yeah, very inspirational family. It's nice to meet.
Yeah, so nice to meet you, Michael and Fleur, and your 2 kids. That was cool. So they were helping us decide how to build our Unimog camper right back in the day.
It's
like
crazy. Yeah, we've been in touch for so long. So yeah, that was very nice.
Their truck is so sweet as well. Yeah.
And today we had an exciting day. Lots of deliveries.
Yeah.
Finally, the water tanks have arrived.
Yes,
the saga is over.
And one is here. They are 1/2 centimeter larger on all fronts. So luckily I made all the woodwork just slightly larger in case that
Oh my gosh, that would have been so
I
bad.
think it'll be okay. So first things first, I need to work out what to do in terms of fittings and stuff, because I don't like the fittings that come with them. So I'll need to sort that out and talk to you guys more about that on another episode.
Okay.
And we got a very special delivery from Womo. So our very good friends Sox and Diana got a proper good care package, as well as New Zealand ginger
Most
nuts.
importantly,
The best chocolate ever made in the world.
How did you know?
No one can argue with me. This is the best chocolate the universe has ever seen. Whittaker's coconut block. You must get your hands on some of this. Argue with me in the comments, I dare you. That is the best chocolate in the world. Okay, and then we've got Leader ginger nuts, and we've got stem ginger nut
I
biscuits.
wanted one of those.
Yeah, so, and so much stuff that we'll properly show you. So now I've got lots buzzing in my head. I've got plumbing, electrical and woodwork all turning into this big in my head.
So I've mentioned earlier that we have to downsize from the Unimog, especially as well for water tanks. So for example here, we've got our 74 liter tank and we've got a 57 inside the camper that Chris has already tried to fit. So you've got 131 liters of water, which is substantially less than the Unimog. We thought initially of having a lot more, but for the size of the vehicle, we need to be realistic. And in Europe, the feedback that we've got is quite easy to fill up on water, so we should be fine. But we didn't want to do less than that because, especially with the toddler, you know, the bath, we don't want to run out of water with him. So yeah, I think that's going to be a good amount. And with our Womo filtration kit, we'll show you one of the unit, which is called the Explorer. It's an amazing kit, and that will allow us to get water from streams, rivers, lakes, so that if we are off-grid and we don't want to come back to civilization, we can top up our tanks. So yeah, that's the reason behind the choice of how many liters of water we've got. Now talking downsizing with our power and electric system. So we're sticking with the same brand that we use in the Unimog in Australia, EnerDrive by Dometic. We're so happy with the products. They work brilliantly for us in the Mog, so there was no reason we would change for this build. But this time we're having 2 batteries, so we'll have 400 amp of lithium. We will have the same inverter, 2600 watts. The reason behind that is we will be cooking on induction in the Volvo, but other than that, our requirements in terms of power are substantially less than the Unimog. So that's why we don't need a 3rd battery or even more. And as well for weight, that is quite important. Chris will go into more details into the EnerDrive products that we'll be using when he'll do all the wiring very soon as well in the camper.
So all tools are down this morning while I try and figure out the plumbing between the 2 tanks. So it is a bit of a complicated system. I shouldn't say complicated, but for maybe a caravan or expedition truck build, it's a bit of a strange one. So here we have a 74 litre tank. It's quite low. And here we have a 54-litre tank, which is long and higher. So not only do we have two different levels to the tanks in terms of their height, but we also have two different volumes, and they need to be linked together so that they equalize as I fill and as I draw water from them. And then because of the peculiarity of the setup, there's not much room for hoses and breathers. There's also not many places I want to drill holes into the outside of the truck for like the fill point and the breathers. So yeah, there's a bit of a tricky scenario going on between the two tanks. So just to run it past you guys, what I'm thinking, I'm also on the phone with my friend Socks, the water engineer in Australia, who runs Womo. He's just such a wealth of knowledge of stuff like this. He's built his own expedition truck really well. He knows so much more about fluid dynamics than I ever will. So he's a great guy to be bouncing ideas off, but just also to run it past you guys as well. So because this is the larger tank, that is what I want to be drawing from inside the camper, because there's more chance that this smaller tank will run a bit drier, I guess, than the larger tank. So it's more likely there's going to be water always in the bottom of the bigger one than the smaller one, right? Then between the two tanks, so down here I have to cut a hole here and cut a hole in the bottom of the fridge box as well, so this is always accessible in an emergency. I will link a 25mm fittings and hose between the two tanks, so that should give me basically double the diameter, the internal diameter of the fill-up point and the outlet. So that should enable hopefully a relatively fast equalization between the two tanks at all times. Then this one, there is just enough room to have a breather come out of the top of, I think, and that'll go under this seat here, so right there. That'll then loop up, so probably up near this wall, and then straight back down out the bottom of the truck. And the same thing will happen to this one, with the only difference being I unfortunately can't have the breather coming out of the top of the tank. It really needs to come out of the top of the side, so this end, I should say, going that way. And then I'll run the hose in the same position, and I'll have them terminate outside on two ball valves so that I can close them off on off-roading in case I get like a siphon effect. That's what we do with valves. It seems to work pretty well. Occasionally we get a siphon effect when we fill up. If I add too much pressure, they don't equalize fast enough and they kind of aqua block and then start siphoning between each other. So I'll hopefully avoid that by just keeping my pressure, my fill-up pressure low, which isn't a big deal because that's quite a small amount of volume, right? It's not going to take ages to fill up. I think this is where my pump setup is going to be. It's about roughly at the most 3 meters. I mean, it's not, it's probably closer to 2 meters, but that's going to come down and come out of this larger tank. So I'll show you that kind of when I'm actually doing it. So that'll be my drawing, so the outlet. And then the inlet, so the water coming in, will be on the outside of the truck, of course, and that'll be a hose running into the bottom of this tank as well. So the DOS breathers, one coming out of here, one coming out of the other tank from up in here, will come out of here on a hose. They'll loop up here and then back down again and out the wheel well, which will be right here. Now this tire cannot hit this spot here, as far as I know. That is where I will have this little bracket, bam, and then I will have behind that bracket, I will have the two breathers terminating at two mini ball valves, and likely that is also where I have the outlet coming from, like a proper sized ball valve that you can just connect basically a garden hose to, and the ball valve being basically stopping mud and stuff getting in. So far that's what I'm thinking. And then under here, I'll cut a hole here, I believe. That'll be where the hot water cylinder has both of the hose lines that go to the engine. That'll be going down there and running underneath alongside the chassis rails. So with plumbing, it's not difficult, I don't find, especially when you obviously understand how gravity works. Show the finished result. Hey. I see the flickering on camera, but they're not in real life. Yeah, I think that's really nice. Adds some nice warm light to the seating area. I just realized I never showed the completion of the secondary bed, or Oakley's little couch bed, I guess. So we got these from a set of LED lights that we hoped could be good work lights, but they didn't work. But anyway, they're incredibly light. They were quite tall, and I've modified it so that there's a 6mm bolt thread on the top end, and it's the perfect height. Can also be collapsed. So what happens is this has been folded down, and I've just velcroed these two cushions to the bed, and then I just lift it up here and I screw on, bear with me, one hand, I screw on this tripod leg on either side, and then just like so we've got a bed. And I can slightly adjust the height if necessary, and that is going to work really well for Oakley's little bed. And then when I'm done, I just unscrew, and then these just become tiny, and I can just store them here or somewhere. So yeah, happy with that design. And then you can still get to underneath when the cushions are off to access the water tank below.
Jump in.
Don't mind if I do. Oh god, this is uncomfortable. On my old knees. Woo!
It's huge.
So much room. Gosh, there's a lot of room.
Yeah, let's give some context. I can be here, I can be...
That's my head. How much more room?
That's
That's enough room. We could have 3 more children up here.
Oh gosh, no.
Like that. Cool.
Here we are. The platform is finished.
The platform is
Well
finished.
done.
Very happy with it now. The only thing we notice is when these two pieces of aluminium rub together, they make a bit of noise. So I'll have to maybe put a piece of rubber in between.
Nice socks.
Hey, thanks. That's a bit bad,
That's
isn't it?
embarrassing.
They've been attacked by caterpillars or something. Sock moth. God, that's really... Anyway.
So, very briefly, the bed is 2.4 meter long and a little bit more than 1.4 meter wide. So yeah, that will be a really good size for the 3 of us to sleep here. We've got our little lights. So we're currently brainstorming what sort of mattress configuration we're gonna have, but that will be in another episode because yeah, it's all behind the scene at the moment.
So these two, 1, 2, the 59 centimeters wide, they stack here. And then obviously our living space. But yeah, this is great. This is really cool. We'll just have to make sure that Oakley can't use the zips. Yeah,
I read a tip online that you use carabiners so that they usually don't open them.
Oh, and we got this view. That's cool.
Let's bring the GoPro there.
That's really cool.
Beautiful view.
Oh, by the way, to whoever said that I had just glued the tint down, you're 100% right. And I figured the tint would be strong enough, but I gave it a really big pull on here, Ange, if you show. And it did start to come up, so I redid the tint on the outside this time and re-glued it. So now that is rock solid, so thank you for that.
Things happening behind the scene with Chris, brainstorming the wiring, plumbing. We're waiting on some deliveries now. So yeah, stay tuned for the next episode for more progress.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. There is now, we're at the stage where there's a lot of things going on at once, so it's actually a lot of time spent on the computer hunting for stuff. What we're really finding is things like connectors, crimping lugs, stuff we kind of took for granted in Australia. You could just walk down to like a local store and pick up a huge bunch. There's a lot of like specialist stores in Perth for plumbing and things like that. We can't find anything like that here. And
it's so expensive in Europe.
And yeah, and online, like the quality doesn't seem as good unless you buy from Germany, and the price is outrageous. And like to ship something really small will be an extra €30. Like,
yeah, this is the changes of doing a build in Europe, but yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Maybe we could use this winch for something cool, like maybe it could lift our legs when we're watching a movie or something cool. Like
on that note.
That sounds a bit weird actually, lifting, whatever.